Ever wonder if your crypto could do more than just, sit in a wallet? What if it could actually help grow real food on a real farm? Today, we're diving into a really fascinating model that does just that, connecting digital dollars directly to actual farms. So let me ask you this. What if the value in your digital wallet wasn't just tied to lines of code? What if you could put it to work in the soil, helping to produce food, and in return, generating yield from a real tangible harvest? And let's be super clear here. This isn't about buying shares in some massive agricultural corporation. Nope. This is a way more direct connection. We are literally talking about funding the ground that our food comes from. And that's where this really cool concept comes in, Agri-RWA, or Agricultural Real-World Assets. To put it simply, it's a system that takes a farming season and turns it into an investment cycle right on the blockchain. You help provide the funding, and your return, it comes directly from the harvest. Okay, to make this crystal clear, let's actually follow the money. We're going to trace a hypothetical investment through its entire 90-day journey so you can see exactly how digital dollars go from a pool of funds to a real-world payout. So the whole thing from start to finish kind of boils down to 4 simple steps, which you can see right here. It all kicks off with investors, like you, forming a funding pool. Then you've got the 90-day growth period. After that, the harvest and sale. And finally, the part everyone's waiting for, sharing the profits. All right, so let's say you decide to jump in with $1,000 in USDC. That's a stablecoin, so it's pegged to the US dollar. Your money joins a bigger pool, let's say $100,000 in total. And that capital goes directly to a farm for the essentials, things like seeds, fertilizer, all that good stuff. Your $1,000 now gives you a 1% stake in this specific harvest. Okay, fast forward 90 days. Now we get to the really fun part, the payoff. How does that initial investment actually turn into a profit? Let's break down the numbers from a successful harvest cycle. So first things first, the farmer harvests the crop and sells it to buyers. In our little example here, let's say the total revenue from those sales, the gross sales, comes in at a nice round $150,000. But, farming isn't free. You've got to subtract the operating expenses, that initial $100,000 that the investor pool, including you, provided for all the seeds and supplies. And after all those costs are covered, what you're left with is a real, tangible net profit of $50,000 from just one harvest. Pretty great. Now, this is where the transparency of the whole thing really shines. That $50,000 in profit gets split. 70% goes right back to the farmer and their operations, and the other 30%, so $15,000 in our example, is allocated to the investor pool. And remember your 1% stake in the whole thing? Well, that means you get 1% of that $15,000 profit pool. And that comes out to $150, earned in just about 3 months. But hey, farming isn't a one-and-done deal, right? It's a series of seasons, and let's be real, conditions can change. So let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture, because no 2 harvests are ever exactly the same. Just like in traditional farming, the yields are gonna be dynamic. As you can see on this chart, one season might give you a 15% yield, the next might be 12%, and then a really great season could hit 18%. This fluctuation is totally normal. It's driven by weather, market prices, and it directly impacts your returns. So after each successful harvest, you've got a decision to make. You can go into payout mode and get your original capital plus your profit sent right back to your wallet. Or you can choose restake mode, where everything just automatically rolls over into the next planting cycle. This is for when you want to chase that sweet, sweet compounding growth. And this is where things get really powerful. By choosing to restake, your returns start earning their own returns. That initial $1,000 investment, it could grow to over $1,670 in just 4 cycles, which is about a year. That's the magic of compounding in action. Okay, but let's talk about the real world for a second. Any investment that's tied to reality carries risk, and this is no different. But what's cool is how this model tries to get ahead of them. So, for example, the risk of bad weather is handled with crop insurance. To deal with market prices swinging around, they often lock in sales contracts ahead of time. And operational risk? That's managed with super transparent on-chain audits, so you can see where the money's going. So, we've walked through the whole journey. We've looked at the numbers, we've talked about the risks, but what's the big idea here? What's the main takeaway from all this? Well, the real game changer here is the bridge it builds. For farmers, this can solve a huge problem, getting quick, fair access to capital without all the red tape from traditional banks. And for investors, it cracks open an entire asset class, direct agricultural cash flow, that used to be just for the big institutions. It makes the whole process simple, transparent, and auditable for pretty much anyone. You know, this quote just hits the nail on the head. It's all about taking real profit from a real farm, splitting it fairly, and then using technology to make that whole process digitally recorded and accessible to anyone, anywhere in the world. And all of this really leaves us with one big question to chew on. By creating such a direct, transparent link between digital money and tangible, real-world assets, could this be the future of how we all invest in the real world? Definitely something to think about.